Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing the intro for my 2024 Pan Those Eyeshadows project. I did this project last year as well, if you saw that, and I had a really good time. It was very enjoyable, it was very satisfying to do, and so I wanted to do basically a continuation into this year. How a Pan Those Eyeshadows project works is you have a couple eyeshadow palettes that you're trying to hit pan on or use up, and you roll in focus shades each month to try to get more usage on those specific shades, and then you roll in new ones after you've either hit pan or use those shades up. The other thing I will add for this year is I'm also going to have a goal being hitting the wall on shades that already have pan in them, so that will be another thing that will roll shades out basically. But yeah, I've seen a lot of creators do pan those eyeshadows, and I've seen people do it in this specific way. So I'll just get into how I'm doing my project for this year and the palettes that I am rolling in for this calendar year. I will say, as a little caveat, I will keep track of the usage for every single shade in all of the palettes, regardless of if they're a focus shade or not. That way you can see like total uses and things like that. I will put in every single month graphics with how many times I use them that month, the total uses, overall, things like that. And for the palettes that are returning for the project this year that were in the project last year, I will also have the uses, like the total uses will be a combined uses of last year and then whatever for this year. So yeah. All right, so the first palette that I have for this year is my Modern Renaissance. This was also in my project last year, and I'll show you a little bit of what it's looking like. I will also put in pictures of what it's looking like as well. But basically, I have pan in every single shade. That's what I did last year. And so my overall goals are just to expand pans. But in general, what my goals are for this is I want to hit the walls on Vermeer and Primavera and Burnt Orange, and I want to use up Vermeer, Primavera, Burnt Orange, and Raw Sienna. So those are my goals. I also want to hit another wall for like Warm Taupe and just in general see how much of this palette I can get used up. My eventual goal is to have every single shade completely used up in this palette. So yeah, that is what I am looking for this one. So it's a good one to keep in. I've actually had it in for 2 years now. So this will be a good continuation. And at this point, I kind of feel like it's just a really good standard palette for me. I'm very comfortable with it. And I use a lot of these shades every single day. So we'll see what I'm rolling in for this palette. The difference between last year's project and this year's project is I'm only going to be rolling in one shade from this palette. So only one shade from this one because I have pan in every single one of them. And at the end, I will roll in all of the focus shades, so we'll see what I get. All right, my next palette is my Maybelline Lemonade Craze palette, which was also in the project last year. But yeah, this one I have a ton of use on. It looks super good, and I just love this palette. It is such an underrated drugstore palette, and I've just really enjoyed using it up. It's a really standard palette for me as well. I love almost every single shade in here, and it's very easy for me to use up. In general, my goals are to hit another wall on Sherbet, hit a wall on Sunnies, hit a wall on Main Squeeze and Citrus, hit another wall on Sweet Tea, and then use up Strawberry Lemonade, Sherbet, Main Squeeze, and Sweet Tea as well as just expanding the pans and all of the others. But yeah, really enjoying this one as well. That being said, this shade will have 2 focus shades in it, just because I feel like I have the most work that I want to get done at the beginning of this palette. My eventual goal is to use up all of the shades in the palette entirely and have nothing left, but for this one and for the Modern Renaissance, I will be focusing, like the focus shades will be any shade from this palette. I'm not gonna say like, oh, I specifically wanna focus on these ones, because that would be me deciding then. I just want to let kind of fate, you know, run its course, and whatever shades I get for the focus shades, that will be what the focus shades are. So yeah. Last little thing about this, I would say the only downside about this palette specifically is it is impossible for me to travel with. Number 1, the packaging is broken. Number 2, the shades are really fragile at this point, especially with big pans in them. So the times I've tried to travel with this palette, if you watched my project last year, you'll know I did destroy some of the shades every single time I tried to travel with it. So the only downside is that I cannot travel with this, but I can travel with all the other ones. So yeah. All right, and next up are 2 new palettes that I am rolling in. That's right, there will be 4 palettes this year instead of 3. I was really debating between the 2 that I rolled in, and I kept just going back and forth. And because I have pans in every single shade in the other 2 palettes, I was like, I really want to have some palettes that I have no pan in and try to get more pan used up and everything like that. So I kept going back and forth, and I eventually decided, you know what, let's just ramp it up this year and roll in 2 whole new palettes. So I have 2 palettes that are brand new, never before seen. Well, unless you saw my eyeshadow palettes videos, then you have seen them. But let's just get into what those are. The first one is this Too Faced palette, and it's the Too Faced Totally Cute palette. I got this palette before college. So I'm 25, I'm turning 26 this year. So that was a long time ago. It was about 8 years ago that I got this palette, and I love to pan or use up palettes that are old. This I got with the Too Faced chocolate bar. I literally got them as gifts for going to college, and that's when I really didn't wear makeup, which is so funny to think about for me now. But this and the Modern Renaissance are 2 of the oldest palettes I have in my collection overall. I think they might be the 2 oldest palettes in my collection actually, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to roll it in. I'll show you what it's looking like. This is what it's looking like, and obviously I'll put pictures up as well. But basically there are 9 shades in here, and I do have pan, you can see in one of them, that is Shooting Star, and obviously you guys will learn more about what the shades are and everything, but in general, I do think that this is a really good colorful palette. I like to add different colors in because Modern Renaissance is so neutral with a little bit of a pops of color, and Lemonade Craze is basically neutral with a couple pops of color, but I wanted to add in another thing that had more color in it, and again, because this is so much older. I will say this is gonna be a little bit of a challenge for me because Too Faced shadows are really deep. So this will be a while, I think. I don't really know, but my goal is to hit pan on them. I do think it's more than possible. There are these giant shades, as you can see, and like I said, I do have pan in one of them, and that's because I used to use it as a highlighter back in the day when I had no highlighters in my collection. But there are 3 really good highlighter shades, and that's what I was really actually desperately missing out of the 2 palettes that I had in already. So it's really nice to have a highlighter shade back into the palettes, so that will be really easy. And then there's just some good classic colors. I wanted to have a purple in again, and this has like a deeper purple called Meow. I wanted to have a green in if I could, and this has a green called Clover, and then it has just some normal shades. I do think something interesting is the 3 shades in this Ice Cream Cutie trio. Double Scoop, Bunny Foo Foo, and Chocolate Donut can basically be duped by both palettes. Double Scoop and Sherbet are basically identical. Chocolate Donut, Cypress Umber, and Old Fashioned are basically identical, and then Bunny Foo Foo and Burnt Orange are basically identical. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out this year, of if I can hit pan on those shades, but I kind of said it was fine in my head because those are shades that I wear more often anyway. The other reason I really wanted to roll this in, besides its age and the fact that I like the shades, is because it's small and it's going to be really easy to travel with, and you can get a lot of different looks out of it. It is totally cute in my opinion. I love this palette and it's very sentimental to me, so that was another thing, but it is getting older and I want to use it up before it's actually bad. And I debated, I'm always debating, oh, should I get rid of it and things like that, but I just can't get myself to get rid of it. So I was like, all right, instead I will put it in and try to pan it. So for this palette, the Too Faced Totally Cute palette, I will be rolling in 1 shade as well. All right, and then the last palette, the kind of unexpected palette, I guess we'll say, the complete like rogue kind of coming out of nowhere palette that I wanted to add in because I couldn't decide. There's a lot of palettes that I feel like I could have rolled in, and I felt like I had the bandwidth to have more shades in, and I just thought it'd be more interesting to see a couple more palettes anyway. So the last palette is the Beauty Bay Pastels palette. So I'll show you what it's looking like. So this is a completely pastel palette, obviously. I was obsessed with this when I got it. I do wear a lot of pastels, and one of the reasons that I wanted to roll it in is because I have debated getting rid of this one as well. Not because I don't like it or because it's super old. I only got it like 2 years ago, I think, but because I have the Natasha Denona Pastels palette, and I end up reaching for that one a lot more. So my thing is that I do love these shades, and I think that I do have a couple dupes in the Natasha Denona palette. Like, I definitely know that a couple of these are dupes, and if you saw my palette video, I did debate getting rid of this and then decided to keep it in. So in my mind, it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna keep it in, then I gotta use it. And with this palette, because I do wear a lot of bright colors, a lot of pastels, things like that, it has a lot of color variety, and I feel like I can wear some of these colors year round. And even though I do wear a lot more pastels in maybe the spring or the summer, I've actually recently worn a lot of pastels. I just feel like I look good in pastels, like lighter, brighter colors. And so, yeah, I've been wanting to roll this in. I do think that I have a good amount of usage on a lot of these shades and that I can hit pan on them just by using them. So yeah, my goal is to hit pan in every single one of these shades and just see how much I can get used of it. And this will also have only one focus shade because that would make 5. So I'll still have 5 focus shades. It's just one from every palette except for the Lemonade Craze palette, which will have 2. But I'm very excited about this. I think it will cause me to make a lot more creative looks. My third palette last year, the Pure Beer Selfie palette, was another just like neutral palette. And I feel as though having a lot of just neutral palettes in meant that I got used to wearing just a lot of neutral looks. And in the time off that I've had not panning any like shadows, not having a project active the past month or so, I've really enjoyed wearing super bright colors. Super funny, I know that today I'm not wearing like any bright colors at all, but lately I have worn a lot of really bright colors and I've enjoyed it a lot. So that being said, I really think having this in the project and having the Too Faced Totally Cute palette will help my creativity and help me, you know, use these shades in more interesting ways and wear more bright, fun, colorful looks because that's what I want to do. All right, now that we know what all the palettes are, let's get into the first focus shades for the first month of this project. So obviously that would be my one from Modern Renaissance, and any of them can be rolled in now. I believe I have 12 shades in this palette. Yep, 12 shades in this palette, so it'll be 1 through 12, and we'll see what my first focus shade is. Alrighty, so I got 5, which is Cypress Umber. We have a little bit of a dark moment here going on. So for these palettes, the ones that have all the pan in them, obviously because I have pan in every single shade, my goal is to either hit a wall or get to 25 uses. So in my mind, that's a way that I won't have Cypress Umber in the entire year like I had with the Pure Be Yourself Natural shade. I just feel like the more shades we can kind of get in the project, the better it is. So this will stay in until I either hit 25 uses or hit a wall on it. All right, next up are my 2 from my Maybelline Lemonade Craze palette. So let's see. So I have 9 shades from this palette, and let's see what our 2 focus shades are. All right, so I got 3, which is Sunnies. So that will be interesting. And it's the same thing, either 25 uses or hitting a wall. And then I got 4, which is Main Squeeze, which is so funny because my last year's project, when I had these 2 shades in, they were also together. What is with these 2 shades? It's like they always must be in together. But basically, yeah, so I will be until I hit the wall or 25 uses for both of these as well. All right, and then in my Too Faced Totally Cute palette, I do already have pan on the shade Shooting Star, so that one will not be added in because my goal is to hit pan on these right now. So I will have out of 8 shades. All right, I got 6, which is Unicorn, which is this like highlighter shade down here, and I will have swatches of all of them at the end as well. But I feel like that's a good one for the winter. I feel like it's a really nice light highlight shade. So yeah, I'm excited about that, especially having a highlighter shade in the project entirely. And my goal for this one is also just to hit pan on it. Like no 25 uses or anything like that. It's just hitting pan on this. This is, after all, a panning project first and foremost. And then of course we have the Pastels palette, and there are 8 shades in this, so let's see what our fun little pop of color will be. All right, I got 2, which is the shade Euphoria. So a nice little like purple, kind of magenta-y purple, a warmer purple moment. I actually love this specific shade on me. I feel like it really makes my eyes pop, and yeah, so I'm very excited about having that one in first. All right, so these are my swatches for this month, and I'll also insert a picture of them as well. I am really enjoying these actually. The Unicorn shade has a kind of like a pinky purpley shift to it that I think pairs really well with Euphoria. And I just realized like how kind of interesting it would be if like my one focus shade was also the dark brown, you know, like there's a dark brown in 3 out of the 4 palettes, and I could have gotten a dark brown for almost every single one of these. So I will take this. I think it's really like cohesive, and I could do looks with all of these together, and I feel like it has a lot of dimension, and I can do a lot of different types of looks as well. So I'm very excited that these are my first 5 shades for the project, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to the first update and to start tracking again. I definitely was itching to start this project now that I've had this month off. It's great to have time off, but I'm definitely ready to jump back in. So yeah. All right, with that, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you are excited about the project for this year. I know I definitely am. I hope you're having a great day, week, month, year, wherever you are. If you like this video, please like it. And if you like me, please subscribe and join me on my little journey. With that, I will see you in my next video. Bye, friend.